resolve and sure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Sit Start Saturday. We're your hosts, as usual, Alan and Jay. So before we get into any actual Sit Start questions, another, I swear, and it was just like the post that started the Natchez Renton trade. I'm just like, I'm going into a movie tonight. What exciting thing could possibly happen? And sure enough, we had another, I don't know what to call this one a blockbuster trade, but it's definitely, of the two trades that went down last night, this is probably the most fantasy significant. And actually did my homework and pulled up the chart this time. So the JT Miller trade, long rumored, finally happens. So the New York Rangers get JT Miller, Erik Brannstrom, and Jackson Dorrington. The Canucks get Filipino, Victor Mancini, a protected 2025 first, no salary retained, which is, I think, one of the hold-up points previously in this trade. Obviously, JT Miller, the most significant piece. Erik Brannstrom, I know, is one of those guys that we've heard, like, future power play guy, but on a team behind Adam Fox, he's not seeing anything. No idea who Jackson Dorrington is. Filipino, I don't know, Jay. I mean, it seems like he's just been kind of third line center, middle six guy. I don't think he really has any fantasy relevance at the moment other than a streamer. I know last night's game, because they did know about the trade in enough time to pull JT Miller. Pia Suter moved up to that second line in Vancouver. So I don't know if that's a permanent deployment or maybe 1-for-1. Hedl becomes that 2C. Victor Mancini's a prospect, and picks don't really apply to us. But interesting development with that pick later. So now, Jay, I know we were talking about it. To me, JT Miller's deployment in New York is a big question mark. The only thing we might be able to guarantee is that he sees top power play time.
Yeah, I mean, Vancouver must really believe in this addition by subtraction, right? You don't really see, I mean, unless you're really believing that Hedl, and we talked about his health concerns before as well. Unless you believe that Hedl has a ton of room and runway to go still, it's got to be the addition by subtraction belief, and makes you really wonder what was happening in that Canucks locker room, particularly since a year ago, this team was basically running the league. And
I know, right? Yeah.
Very, very much seemed as if they were gonna, I don't know, be dominating that Pacific Division, at least possibly for another, like, a straight run through. I don't know where I stand on Miller. I
think we can both agree he won't repeat that 100-point season. But let's say in the last 30 games he plays at he gets 45 points in 30 games. Is that a win? Like,
there is no player on either side of the trade that can do what JT Miller does. So I'd imagine the Rangers have it better. The only issue, we were looking further at the cap situation, and now the Rangers have so much cap, like $8 million, $8.5 million, all tied up in like JT Miller, Zib, up until 2030. So both of those guys are going to have to be mainstays for the next little bit. We joked about it, Alan, too, but it basically is you learn about all the ramifications for the future, and it's like, I hear you about the children, time to fuck them kids, and like send them literally into the sun elsewhere.
We can't develop young talent. Like, that is, again, what the Rangers are basically saying. I don't know. What do we think this does for Petey? Right now, he's on a 60-point pace. Do we think he can be a pace king down the stretch? And like now that that locker room distraction is gone, because we saw it when JT Miller took that leave of absence. Like PD was almost back to being PD, like as we think of him. Do we think that now he picks up and is now worth maybe where you drafted him or what you traded for him?
Man, I don't know. I'm looking right now at that team. And so right now there's Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes. Is really the next best name Jake DeBrusk? Like in terms of talent, like Brock Besser, maybe, I don't know, but like the talent
And there's still rumors they may still move Pettersson out, which I think is ridiculous. It's like you're basically telling the team and the league that you're resigning yourselves to mediocrity for another 4, 5, 6 years.
I'm trying to like make it all
not fantasy relevant, but
yeah,
it's not a good look.
It's also difficult because we aren't playing in those locker rooms. And when I'm just seeing the product on ice and when I'm looking even like the 23-24 season, right? Like both PD and Miller were such fantasy assets and just, I guess, heavily outperforming their values, heavily outperforming their draft capitals, that we have this perspective about their players and perspective about, I guess, the whole situation. Maybe it's totally inaccurate. Maybe it is one of those locker rooms that's not toxic when winning and horrendous to be around when things don't start rolling exactly their way. Come to think of it, Alan, I'm trying to think of a locker room where this wouldn't be the case. You know, I think generally winning breeds, contentment.
Although apparently I was reading this morning that Vinny Trout he advocated bringing JT Miller in.
Oh, I mean, he did spend the better part of 5-6 seasons with the Rangers. So maybe that's old teammates, sticking up for old teammates. I don't know. Like, even when I'm looking at that team as well, I guess there aren't too many UFAs coming into the next season. Biggest one's probably Brock Besser. It cannot have been that they were trying to ship him out because they wanted to leave cap space to re-sign Brock Besser. Like, that can't be and
even Brock Besser is another rumored trade target.
Yeah, maybe the more I say it out loud, I didn't have that huge reaction at first, but Alan, talent-wise, what the hell are the Vancouver Canucks doing?
I know, right? And I wonder if this is like the best they were going to get. I was kind of hoping because it sounded like Colorado was suddenly a rumored team for JT Miller. I would have loved that. As someone who's speculatively traded for him.
I'm really trying to think of that addition by subtraction mantra. And it does happen. Has it happened in hockey the same way? The one time I remember is in basketball, there was the Toronto Raptors where they traded away Rudy Gay. So the big star, bona fide guy that gets the ball, gets the minutes and everything. They traded him away, and then the team became instantly better. I think went on like an 11-game winning streak or something like that. Something along those lines where it was incredible. I don't know if that happens in hockey. I'm trying to think of any team that's ever traded away their, star guy and just like, guys, he was holding us back this entire time.
I will say like the Homer example, Tampa let Stamkos walk as much as that was like a hit for the locker room and everything.
Right.
We signed Gensel but this season, like we're not as reliant on special teams, but we're better on 5-on-5, which was where Stamkos was kind of holding us back. Now we're not top of the Atlantic, but there was some addition by subtraction there.
That's still like a 1-to-1 replacement though. Like,
yeah,
man, I'm all the Stamkos like supporters are going to be like, how could you possibly know? But like, you're replacing a good, great scoring winger with another good, great scoring winger, right? But Philip Hedl, man.
Yeah, that is not a replacement for JT Miller, especially if, like, we said one good whack to the noggin and he's right. Done so. Let me move this one and get to the other trade. In true Vancouver Canucks fashion, they acquire another Pettersson last night. This trade probably has fewer fantasy relevant pieces, but the Canucks trade Danton Heinen, Vincent Desharnais, Melvin Fernstrom, and that Rangers conditional first to the Penguins for Marcus Pedersen and Drew O'Connor. For me, the only piece that really sticks out as potentially being fantasy relevant is Danton Heinen. If he breaks Penguins top 6, he's probably a streamer at best some weeks.
Yeah. I'm like looking through all these guys.
Because Drew O'Connor,
here.
third line guy in Pittsburgh. Marcus Pedersen, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not sure how I
depends on
feel about
form.
using that, burning that conditional first on this. I don't know if it's a cap shed or what, but I mean, I guess it depends what they want, right? They've said ever since they were thrown in the talent season, they're looking to get younger. Anything they can do that to give them that infusion of youth, they're going to do.
Why did the Canucks do this again? Who like is Pedersen the big?
Oh yeah, man, they love their Pedersens. They're like Infinity Stones.
Just slowly.
They have
collect the ball?
two Elias Pedersens, and now they have a Marcus Pedersen.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Vincent Desharnais, I don't think he's maybe. I don't know what his riffs are like. Maybe as like a banger guy you pick up, but I just don't see. Danton Heinen is, to me, in this trade, the only guy that's like has any sort of fantasy relevance. That's assuming he can crack that top 6.
Like this trade already looks bizarre on its own, but then it's like one of those cascading, like, trade the paperclip and then see what happens over time. Like it just doesn't help it.
Yeah.
The longer you look at it, it reminds me of those like trades where I think one of those a manager we played in one of our leagues, like he drafted Austin Matthews and eventually kept trading. But if you followed the trade all the way down, he ended up with Noah Dobson. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Right.
I don't understand the thought process for the Canucks continue to trade.
So yeah, CG's asking, and we touched on this. Miller power play 1, he almost has to be a lock, especially since that Rangers power play hasn't been great, or at least up to their own standards this year. I think Kreider's actually been playing on line 3 for a minute. It just, I don't know if it's his injury is just that bad, but he and Zibby have just not been clicking like they used to in years past. Yeah, so I almost wonder how they, like I said, I wonder if they want to stack that top 6. I feel like Miller has to go to wing, or
Sure.
do they bump Tro or bump Zibanejad down, and reunite Kreider and Zibby?
It definitely is worth considering if there were any Zibanejad naysayers, right? Maybe not Trocheck. I think Trocheck's done like he's been the jackknife, so to speak, like jack of all trades type of player this season. But yeah, it really begs the question for Zibby. Like he probably has a huge spotlight on him to perform now,
Right.
Because
I almost thought that he'd be part of whatever return
Going the other
for
way.
JT Miller.
for sure. And looking now, like Alan, are we seeing line 3? Like is that what's
Line 3
projected for-
Zibby.
Yeah,
I don't know.
this is
We'll find out. So it sounds like he does have enough time to get to Boston today for the Rangers game. And I mean, I didn't think that Natchez was going to play, right after he got traded, but he did. So we'll see. And that might give us some idea of what we can expect for deployment. Luckily, that game's pretty early. I think like 3:30. Yeah, Tornabry here. Thoughts on the Vancouver goalie tandem? Demko taking that. I mean, it was always supposed to be Demko's net, but I know missing camp, injuries. I don't know. I think it depends on how close they are to a playoff spot. Like, what's Vancouver doing? Because I feel like if they have a shot at getting into the playoffs, it'll probably be more like a 60-40 or 70-30 split with Demko.
I mean,
but if they're
Demko
floundering, like it's probably 50-50.
like Demko just started the last 2, but then Lankinen started the prior 2, and then Demko started, I think it was 3 again. It isn't a pattern where I would definitively Demko is not doing incredible when he's on the ice either. Like just lost 5-3 against Dallas. Is it just me? It looks like you got
Yeah, it's not looking
right?
it's not looking good for the Canucks. I mean, they're 1 point back of
Oh no, he didn't get
Calgary for that second wild card spot in the West, but it
Hold
looks
on.
like the Canucks have played more games.
How the hell? Oh, he stopped 11 of 14 shots. What? Hold on a second.
Oh, someone
11,
going in
14.
relief, maybe?
No, that's what I was thinking. No, there were 2 empty net goals. He has a sub 800 save percentage in that game. What the heck? Dude, I don't know, man. Like, you look at his stats 3.2, 3.26, 0.873. Like, these are pedestrian numbers. Lankinen had a crazy hot start, and now he's at 2.56, 906 save percentage. Like,
What? I mean,
Neither
remember,
goalie is
league
running too
average
hot.
is only like 900, 901. So, like 906,
Right.
you're getting league average goaltending.
true. And I think that's the horrendous part where the guy that was crazy hot to start and was giving way above league average percentage and value, if he's dropped now to league average, it's a pretty significant performance drop that's happened. And at the same time, Demko's done no better. I don't think I would like CG. I would not CG, sorry. Turnberry, I would say. I don't think Demko is taking over the net. They have no reason to get him to take over the net either. They want him healthy for next season. They don't really need him, especially now. What? 5th in the Pacific?
Yeah, like I said, they're 1 point back at Calgary, but I think
I think it's
I
2
think
points
Calgary
back up.
has games in hand.
Yeah, well, they're 2 points back of the Kings. The Kings also have games in hand. Kings are on a crazy slide. They're 2-7-1.
Yeah.
So
They're not
Maybe-
they're not scoring. It's weird.
well, maybe there's a chance, but no matter what, the way for Vancouver to go is not to overburn either of their goalies. And let's be fair, frank, it's not going to be overburning Lankinen, I can't imagine it. So it'll be overburning Demko. So they need his groins to be intact and his hamstrings to still work. And that can't happen if you're having him. At this point, you just can't trust it having him start 2 out of 3 games, I don't think.
Man, I gotta look that up now. When is Quinn Hughes' contract up?
It is actually have their team popped up right here. So his cap, right? You mean his cap goes away?
Yeah, through 27. So I think he's got 2 more seasons.
Yeah, finishing this season, and then he gets 25, 26, 26, 27, and then he's UFA. He's not going to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the Canucks do, but I think if they trade PD too, that's, like I said, it's not a good look. Like, who knows what that team will be able to do? I mean, there's not a playoff team at that point.
I mean, the conversation starter kicked up too with that Four Nations announcement. Alan, did you follow that Four Nations? I don't even know who the American captains are. I did know the Canadian
Matthews is the captain.
Right.
I want to say it's Matty Tkachuk and
Matty Tkachuk.
I forget who the third is.
Third one was. But a lot of the discussion in the Team Canada one was more so there's Crosby, there's
McKinnon,
David,
McDavid,
and then instead of McKinnon, they put Makar, and everyone kind of blew up in the chat going like, how in the world did you skip, arguably right now, according to the stats,
the team captain.
Yeah, he's the best player, according to all the metrics and stats right now. Obviously, McDavid, I personally believe is the better one, but according to the stats this year, it is McKinnon. And there was this whole conversation that popped up about styles of captaincy, styles of everything. And it really makes you think in terms of there are the captains that are leading by example and are very, domineering and just a force to be reckoned with on the ice. And then the other type of captains kind of the calm demeanor in nature. Do you think the Vancouver Canucks could have looked very different had you basically saw how they panned out, right? Because they could have gone we're going to go with the kind of the hothead, kind of that character. And then they were going to go with the super calm, I don't know if you've seen documentaries, but basically Quinn Hughes spends his downtime cutting up eggs, making salads, and watching more hockey. That's just what Quinn Hughes does. But could they instead have gone toward the hot-headed Miller and made him captain, and maybe we'd see different trades and setups now? You know what I mean? With how that Canucks team could have been constructed. This could still be Quinn Hughes' team, but he's playing with no talent. That's the other part. Can he basically just uplift all his other fellow teammates?
I mean, Eric
being
Carlson
calm?
did it on the Senators for years.
He did. he had a hugely performing John Gabriel Pageau in the
I
crucial
was gonna say, and you
moments
could
of
say
it.
that like you could probably say Roman Yossi did it for a while.
What all those teams need a super hot goalie. And I will say credit where credit is due. At the end of the day, the NHL, you need a goalie. Like there are fewer teams that can do it without like a bona fide stud. I'm trying to remember. They did the stat all the way back. I think the only team that's won the Stanley Cup without like a goalie that was at least league average or above, I think was Cam Ward in 2006.
Oh no, I was going to say there's
Rookie or
been quite a
something.
few teams that have gone all the way with slightly subpar goaltending.
But not subpar as in like below league average. Like not like, like Igor Shesterkin for sure, but like, like the sub, I don't know. Anyways, the idea
I think even
there
Bob
was,
provided like lower than 900.
oh, Bob. But here's the thing. Bob's 900 stuff was because he would get absolutely pummeled on one game and then like have an amazing other game, right? So I guess they basically lucked out on the what do you call the extremes?
There we
What
go.
was it,
Yeah.
Delta. I don't know. But looking at their team right now, we're judging the Canucks hard by this season in which their best goaltender was hurt. So maybe, honestly, if you have this roster, you have, I guess, balanced scoring. Kemper with the Avs.
There we go. There we go, man. Yeah. It's like like I've said for a couple years now, the Abs play 0G in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, the Avs might be the other. That team was so stacked forward wise, but it might be possible if you're roster constructing for the Canucks this way, where so long as Quinn Hughes, performs and just I guess keeps the overall mantra of the team up, and their goaltending just runs hog wild next season, this team probably could do some damage still. Like I'm looking at the goals where they would come from. There's probably still enough here. The only issue is more so you're also banking on some of these guys that aren't guaranteed a future here being either flipped for assets or coming back on cheap contracts like Besser, like DeBrusk has to play like very close to that $5.5 million. Garland's got to come close. Like, I don't know if this addition by subtraction is the one. I didn't even talk about Dakota Joshua. What the heck has that guy gone? Like last
Actually,
year,
like looking at the lineup from last night, Dakota Joshua was online too.
Oh.
I was going to say, is that where you want a guy like that who was really last season was a great third line piece?
But he was
maybe
also
the
great.
Additional ice time gets him something, but
he was also great in the playoffs, right? Like both the fantasy playoffs and the real playoffs. It's one of those like Wyatt Johnston setups where I don't know if his most memorable time where we saw him all the highlights and everything. We're like, yeah, but I don't know if the stats bore it out that he was doing this all season. And I don't know if there's that talent on the team now where they can do those sorts of scoring all season. If you fall down to Connor Garland by the time it gets to your bottom six, sorry, Connor Garland. Anywho.
Yeah, let's we can get this one sit start. I think that's the only one. Yes, the only sit start question we have right now. Who do we start today between Barzal and Rust? Barzal playing Tampa, who just announced Vazzy is starting. And then the Penguins play, holy shit, who was it? Nashville, who Saros is,
I think it's a Noonan
with illness. So yeah, they'll probably play. Well, no, they played a Noonan last night. So I think it's the other Matt Murray. Not the Matt Murray, the other Matt Murray, which I think he was the backup for Dallas a year or two ago. Okay. To me, it's Rust. I feel like it's not even close.
So here's the thing. Is he promoted there because he's going to back up a Noonan again?
Oh, no. They called up the other Matt Murray as Saros is day-to-day with illness.
Right. I meant more so, when they like the Utah Hockey Club did that too, right? Where they promoted some guy up and then we just watched Veggie play like 6 games in 8 nights or something crazy like that, right? So
so you're saying they could just start a Noonan back-to-back. That is entirely possible.
It is definitely entirely possible, but
we won't know until like 6:30.
We won't know until 6:30 for sure.
Because Nashville's one of like the worst teams as far as like telling you they're starting goaltender.
I would lean toward Rust either way.
Yeah.
I think like best case scenario, even if a Noonan is the starter, you can still get drilled.
I just feel like it's the matchup, and just the team in general. I mean, I know the Penguins, they're not playing for anything this season, but yeah, I feel like they're still a lot better than the Isles, who quietly kind of sneaking back into the playoff picture.
I mean, that East is so
up for grabs. It's going to be interesting, like as we get closer and closer to trade deadline, like who is going to throw in the towel and when on selling.
And then further, which team is going to be really screwed over by doing that because they tried to go too ham, too hard, and then the trade deadline passed.
Or they buy and then miss.
100%. 100%. And I mean, big names too, right? Like I'm looking now. The biggest one that sticks out probably 100% must be the Rangers. Like that team trades, buys. And the other one too is we smashed that Nashville's terrible one so hard, but at the same time,
they've also quietly had a pretty good season, or not pretty good season, pretty good stretch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, both of those teams are
weekly lock. Ouch.
Weekly lock.
Sorry, CG's question here. He's looking for a final D-man, weekly lock, playoffs or weeks 23 and 24. OEL, Riley, Falk, Burns, or Orlov. I mean, Falk to me is the only guy that's getting any sort of real looks on power play. Now that could change. Hampus Lindholm could sneak into Boston's power play those weeks, or something happens to Ghost Bear again and they actually put Burns in that top unit. You got to go in a vacuum. For me, it's Falk would be the guy to go after. Let me look at these schedules.
I was going to say, like, the one that starts on March 31st is week 24, right?
I think it's, I thought the 17th, March 17th was week 22.
Yeah,
so 24th.
For sure. So 24th and then 20 and 31st are the 2 weeks he's talking about. Let's see. So let's go to the Leafs first. Because he's got two guys there, right? OEL Riley. 4 games in week 23. 2 games in week 24. Yeah. And off night, heavy night. So I would say with the Leafs, if you got Riley or OEL, like it's not the worst option if you get them for week 23. We just have to remember to like switch them out for one of the other guys. But let's see for St. Louis. St. Louis has 3 games, all heavy nights in week 23, and also 3 games, all heavy nights in week 24. I don't think I'm leaning Falk if he just has the heavy nights, but
well, I mean, it's a defenseman. It's easier to get defensemen in on those nights. Yeah. Carolina's toward the top in total games played.
Yeah, Carolina
Lewis is toward the bottom. Yeah, on freaking games played. Dang it.
Yeah, the Carolina one might be intriguing in the sense that they have 3 games in week 23, 2 off nights, and then they have 3 games in week. Yeah, same set of 3 games in week 24, also 2 off nights.
So
actually, off nights don't matter for weekly locks, eh? So yeah, there's no off night consideration. So just in terms of pure volume gameplay, probably it makes more sense to go Toronto first.
Yeah, I almost think off nights are irrelevant when you're looking at D-men, because you're typically not going to carry past like whatever you can actively roster.
I think Toronto is the play for week 23.
Well, he wants both. But I mean, do we want OEL or Riley? Because right now, at least Riley, he's not on power play 1. He hasn't really. I don't think has he factored in any points lately.
Riley's been a tire fire. I hate owning Riley, and I would never tell anybody to do it unless they needed the games or whatever. But at the same time, he is comfortable ceiling for like everyone. It's an open secret at this point that he is doing poorly this season. So he's probably available, widely available, and you probably can still access him. I just don't think the ceiling for OEL or Riley is crazy high. I think you're getting them for the games played and hoping they do
Yeah,
something.
at
with
least
it.
as of right now, we're looking at Riley as like a 35, 40 point defenseman. I don't know. To me, it might be one of those Carolina defensemen.
I'd probably lean Burns.
And
if it's me.
I'd lean Orlov, like, because unless Burns gets that top unit, he's really not getting much. He might get you some shots. But Orlov is gonna, cover all the categories, even though I know this is points league, but you still have that floor. And Orlov stumbles into the occasional hot streak and will get you like 2-3 points.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you can play an extra game that week, I would always lean toward the player that can play the extra game. So I would go for week 23, OEL or Riley. However, if you're adding specifically to get one guy to cover both weeks, is it a 2-week lock? Or can you make...
Yeah, I would think that week, because that week 24 is actually like a week and a half.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the only way to get that week, at least for Yahoo historically, has been to play all the way out.
Right. I was referring more so, is it a setup where you're willing to make changes mid-week? I guess you'd have to change it out.
I guess
like
if
Monday
you drop someone, it
would have to be like Riley or OEL that you drop, right? Because the same thing that makes them good for week 23, the 4-game, is what 1 week locked, right? So CG, if you have a 1 week lock, you might as well get the Leafs for the week 23 and drop them the week 24 because they only get 2 games. And then you get the extra game with any of the remaining guys, right? Like Falk, Lindholm, Burns, or Orlov. I would say of those, Alan, Falk is the name that stands out.
See, yeah, and that's why my gut was like Falk, because he's the only one that's getting any sort of guaranteed power play time. But as we said, they have the lowest amount of games over those 2 weeks.
But Carolina has the same number, right? Like 6 games.
No, Carolina has 2 more. St. Louis has 10. Carolina has 12.
I guess it depends, because I do play in leagues where April 6th is like the hard cutoff, and like any games that happen from April 7th onward just don't factor in. But it also, check your
league. So it sounds like you're ending week 23. Right? Because if you play week 24, you go to the 17th. Okay. Which I think is like a week and a half.
Okay. I got to check all.
So yeah, this is how I have this set up in Dopper. It's the 24th, which I believe is week 23, and then 4/17 is when that week 24 ends. So yeah, St. Louis and Boston have the lowest amount of games of the teams in this bunch.
CG, what date? Like, I know it says ending week 24. What's the date? Like the actual day they said that all things like close. Let me pull my Fantrax one up too.
Yeah, let's check, because I know in the listener league we go all the way to week 24.
Right. Let's see. League rules.
Actually,
League stats end accumulating on Sunday, April 6th, 2025. That's in our league, which I guess is 24, but then also indicates that like any games after April 7th don't count toward the fantasy season, which would indicate that I guess the playoffs in our league would start a week early, right? It says playoffs start on March
23 through 24. There we go. Okay, so man, I have this set up wrong. So 23
is Leafs and Canes, CG. Leafs
30th. So week 23 is the 24th, so I need to end on the 6th. There we go. So apologies. That was my bad. All right, so we got, how far down do we have to go to see one of these teams?
So it goes March 10, and then March 17, March I guess March 10, March 17, March 24. Wait, hold on. What is going on here? So they start. Oh, okay. Sorry. So I guess the reasoning, Alan, and you were correct in saying it was like a 2-week setup. It's just the 2-week setup happens for the finals, I think, for our specific league. But I think our specific league has week
got
23 and
mixed.
24 merged into one, I guess, competition like block. Whereas for CG, his competition seems to be splitting up the week.
Yeah, I got mixed up. So okay, all right. So yes,
Week
23 and
24.
24. It looks like Toronto, St. Louis. I think all 4 of these teams represented here all have 6 games in those 2 weeks. So it's not.
Yeah.
No one has sort of a games advantage.
But
Boston
in
has
terms of
2. Carolina's off nights are irrelevant. We've said
Yeah.
here.
But in terms of CG's considerations, his semifinals and his finals are broken up there, right? So his semifinals, in his semis, the Leafs play 4 games, whereas all other teams listed there play 3, and then for the finals it's inverted. All those teams play 3, and then the Leafs only play 2. So if he can, I think CG would be better off splitting and getting the Leafs and then flipping. I don't know about Canes there. I think Alan and I were, I guess, like debating between the Canes, but I think Alan and I also think like Folk is probably a good standout option if he's still around. Come
Yeah,
the
how many
finals,
games does
right?
he have that second week? Because
3.
and he's the only guy in that list, at least as of right now, that gets any sort of power play time.
For sure. And I mean, CG, I'm going to say this out too. I don't like weekly, but I will say weekly is a brainless version of it comparatively, right? Like it removes a lot of the day-to-day stress of managing, the I don't know, all that jazz, right? So
See, I like Carolina's schedule that first week. Nashville, Montreal, New York Islanders.
it does seem pretty good, especially that does sound pretty
Boston.
good actually.
They only have 2 games that first week. Anaheim, Detroit. And then 4 games the following week. Washington, Montreal. Yeah, maybe it is still Falk now that I have the schedule. Now that I'm looking at the correct schedule.
Any other guys you think that could be? Oh man,
Well, 12 teams. So that really narrows down the.
you got to pull up your
Yes.
available guys and like
So,
pop out and show them, man.
I know he's super highly owned, but Dallas, if Thomas Harley isn't taken,
Thomas Harley for sure.
because it was confirmed last night, he's getting top power play in Dallas. Dallas has the most games in that 2-week, one of the most games in that 2-week stretch. No Harley. I figured. Yeah, I think when we checked on the weekend preview, Jay, he was like 80-something% owned.
Yeah, something. It was something where we're like, wow, like is this Heiskanen? And it wasn't Heiskanen. It was it was the other guy. I'm literally going to look at top D. Zadorov. Where's Zadorov in your league? Dude's doing shenanigans just on the basis of his periffs, eh?
You know, I would say, well, where are the Isles in this?
Oh yeah,
Because Romanov might be worth a look right now. They 7 5 off nights.
Brady Shea.
Shea, yeah, he's kind of he's on a little bit of a hot streak right now. I know he had a point or two last night. So yeah, we're purely goal scoring.
Yeah. Man, I don't know.
He had 2 points last game, so he has 5 points in his last 4 games.
What's Hannafin doing?
Oh my, yeah, there we go. Those are the names I was trying to think of Wednesday night. Hannafin and Pietrangelo are both in the toilet right now. Like Theodore is he's the defenseman that's going.
He is the defenseman, dude. Yeah, I guess as long as one defenseman scoring, Vegas doesn't care.
Washington, Chikrin, if Chikrin's available.
Oh, Ristolainen is getting PB time.
He's getting some time. Well, he could also be moved at deadline. I'd be surprised if he stays. Dowdy is probably taken. Cider's probably taken.
Yeah, I'm looking at Lane Hudson. Oh, Jackson Lacombe. He should be around.
In the Ducks. Yeah.
Jackson Lacombe. I would go.
So
Leafs.
all right. So yeah, are we saying Leafs, the Leafs defenseman, then Falk?
Yeah. What about Jackson Lacombe? I would say check where Jackson Lacombe is for sure too. Just
on
to
the
go-
Ducks.
yeah, just to check where he is.
I still don't know if Falk is. We rank Falk higher than those Leafs defensemen because, again, Falk's the only one getting any sort of power play time.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm a merchant sucker for the schedule, Alan. That's no surprises there. So
Gotcha.
that's how I view it. But yeah, but I'm also approaching it with the angle that Falk might be available that ensuing week, right? So if per se you
So
get
you're
either-
saying get a Leafs defenseman for week 23 and then
Rotate
flip
him
around.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming Falk is available for week 24, but it's entirely possible that someone else snaps him up quick, right? So, just be aware.
But
Is it
yes, DJ, I would
possible?
check if Romanov on the Isles are available.
I-
OEL over Riley.
I don't think I would do OEL over Riley.
Yeah.
OEL's role is more of the shutdown guy. But I would double check as well if there's for weekly locks, once the Leafs play their very first game. So let's see.
Yeah, I guess I've never played in a weekly lock. Like that would frustrate the heck out of me.
But
Romanov's gone. Okay.
But I would say in a weekly lock, and CG, correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, but does it lock after the first game plays that week? Because is this something where, let's say the Leafs play at 7 p.m. on the Tuesday and on March 25th?
you can then drop him and pick up.
Yeah, and then your player still keeps on the
Jeez.
existing $250 buy. Jeez. Do you still get the player to play the remainder of that week because obviously they're now locked, and then you get the new guy kind of secured for the next week? Because if that's the case, just remember to lock in, I guess, the Falk ad on Wednesday. Yeah, once locked in, no changes. But then you can make changes for the ensuing week, right? Just remember, don't wait until that weekend. Grab Falk on the Wednesday, or grab Falk on, I don't even know, Tuesday night or whatever. And I think you should be good.
Yeah, one sock, no changes.
Hmm.
Oh man, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, some high rollers. playing
Do we ask about Chikrin? If Chikrin's available? He's probably not.
there.
He's probably not in a 12 team. If it's this competitive.
Aline Bichelle.
I know, right? Is that
Oh, dude, Chikrin is 91%, man.
dang
That
it?
guy.
Okay.
That guy's gonna have a.
So in 12 games, he has 2 points. In 12 games, he has 46 hits, 6 blocks.
Wow. This guy's a pinball.
I was gonna say maybe in like a deep. Oh man, look at that hits rate: 6, 5, 5, 4, 2, 4, 6. Yeah,
This
that
is-
sounds like there we go.
that's
So
pretty
good
nuts.
on ya, Chikrin.
He's averaging 5 hits a night. This seems insane, Alan. What the
I
hell?
know that seems like a low key.
Is this sustainable? Probably not. Who cares though? Just
I don't
get-
know. I mean, with with Heiskanen out,
Oh,
that opens up a lot of
guy
ice
is
time.
ceiling. Oh God.
Carlos and
Okay.
Chikrin favor. Okay.
I will say, if I'm frank and honest, I don't think he was my immediate charge on ad. I think he's rather a deep cut. I think he's a deep cut with a high ceiling for sure.
Yeah, his ice time is okay. So
Trending up for sure. Yeah.
yeah, with Heiskanen out, especially if he can get on the PK, because it sounds like they took Harley off of their PK
Yeah.
to save him for the power play.
Are you saying Bichelle? Is
Yeah, for
Harley's
Bichelle.
Harley?
There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for Bichelle to pick up some ice time, and if he does, God, yeah, what we say, average 5 hits a game. That's a nice gem to find.
For sure. Yeah. Jobber schedule planner.
So yes, I think that's what we said. You're right, Jay. Riley for that first week, then,
And
Falk.
Yeah. Yeah. What was Turner Bree's question again? So can you explain Darber's schedule planner? I get you put date range, but what does one do with light day? No threshold. Seems to be set at 8. Do we need to adjust it?
I think that's a personal preference because I think once we got, was it 31 or 32 teams?
Yeah.
Was where the definition of a light or heavy day
yeah.
changed. So it's more a matter of what you, if you differ.
Yeah. Because
in opinion.
hypothetically, because I think light night depends on two definitions, right, Alan? So the light night, I think, refers to the old one was just is half the league playing. If half the league is playing, then, or sorry, if less than half the league is playing, it's an off night. If more than half the league is playing, it's a heavy night. But that definition's weirder when you have 32 teams because you could end up with, like, what was it? You said it's 8 games, right? Like, let's say 8 games, or I don't know, like 8 games could still have people on your bench, right? Even if it's technically an off night. So I
case in point today, I mean, how many games we have? What, 10 games today? And
right.
Mostly everyone can find
9
room.
games today, I think, right?
9 games. Yeah.
9
so
games.
that
and
is
still,
more than half the league, but you still have open slots.
And then on the inverse as well, Sunday is also a 9 gamer. So it's technically, I guess they count like a heavy night or a light night, but it's the same number of nights as today. So
yeah, no, I would say adjust it based on your opinion of what would count as a heavy night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I would say just looking ahead for Turner Bree. So you're saying your playoffs are weeks 22 to 24. Let's see. So 23. Where's 23? There we go. Okay. So if you're looking at 23, it goes what? 4-10, 4-10, 6, 11, 8. So I don't think it makes too big a deal because, I mean, 3 of the nights that are traditional light nights are light anyway. Oh,
I like this question from Frank. Fantilli or Granlund over Zibby?
I probably go
honestly,
but
so Fantilli for right now is fucking amazing. Sure. But Granlund, he's rumored in some trade, like being a trade target, a rental. So I don't know if he stays with the Sharks or if he goes somewhere. He's not going to get like top 6 minutes. He's going to be someone's like 3C third line depth piece.
Granlund's value, I don't think, is slopping him in as C either, right? Like Granlund's value is probably slopping him in at any
wing
available position of the CLW that is C.
And then honestly, so all right, so they just announced that Monahan had a setback, so he's out another like 6 to 8 weeks, which we're really deep in the fantasy season at that point. I wonder if he just Fantilli, dude. Adam Fantilov.
There is no reason for them to rush Monahan back, right? There's no reason. Their team is in the playoff hunt and playing well. They got a 6-point lead over the Isles. That can't be right. Columbus?
Dude, they also on a tear. And like seriously, I was Spencer Carberry for Jack Adams. Dude, Dean Evanson, man. If the Jackets make the playoffs, Dean Evanson for Jack Adams. 100%.
Well, the other one is they are getting this lead on the Isles with the Isles getting a 6-game winning streak. So this is the best version of the Islanders that they're still ahead of.
Alex, so here we go. CG is asking what there is to look up power play time splits. I also use Dauber for that. So I'm trying to think of here we go. We'll use up because we were just talking about them, and I know if I could, my keyboard would type correctly. So we can look on the season. I brought up Falk here because him and Fowler are going to be splitting that pretty evenly. So far this season, it looks like he has 54.9% of the team's power play share. And we also have game log. We can break it down further. And we can see by percentage here. There's this and also left wing lock. Is it going to make me? I wonder if it's going to make me log in. Line combos. So we'll go to St. Louis. Up here, we can go power play. And then it has the option to go most recent game, most recent 3 games, 10 games. So I'll just go most recent game. And then it'll show us the units. And then what percentage of the time they got. Yeah, absolutely. Werenski, he's been such an amazing story this season. I think he's like top 2-3 defenseman. Left wing lock and Dauber frozen tools free. Yeah.
And I would clarify
left wing lock might make you create an account, but that's free.
Yeah. And I would say to clarify as well, like it shows you the time on ice breakdowns. Sometimes you get like the weird sort of setups where I'm trying to remember a couple seasons ago, it was like the McAvoy setup, right? Where McAvoy and Grzelcyk, I think McAvoy was getting power play 2, Grzelcyk was getting power play 1. But then the way the time on ice broke out, it was so even that some nights I think Grzelcyk would end up with less ice time, even though he was on the power play 1, because the other guy, the power play 2, was just playing more ice time. So, I mean, it's kind of an imperfect system. Like right now, obviously Thomas, like Buchnevich, Fowler, like Foxa, like they're getting less power play, but it's still a relatively even split. But further, like if it flipped in terms of frequency and percentage of it, like if the Folk ended up having the 41%, it doesn't always indicate that the power play 1, has completely rotated. It could just be the power play 1, like even if they scored, for example, in the first 30 seconds, and then the power play 2, like, played a full 2 minutes, it could also show, oh, wow, like one guy,
a guy gets a weird shift on power play 1. Like I remember earlier this season, I think Luke Hughes not accidentally, but it worked out that he got a shift on the top unit. So I was like, oh shit, like this is it. This is it. Dougie's getting bumped.
And then the next game, it was like, oh no.
Yeah, back to Dougie. Yeah, but we got like a little less than 10 minutes here. So last call, if anyone has, I don't know, not really sit start, but like any questions at all. Man, you know what? I don't know. I've heard PD to the Blue Jackets, and I hope that happens for them.
Yeah.
Like they got the young pieces, the draft picks to trade for them. It'd be nice. I just want to see Columbus get like legitimate star talent. Like they're like having been to a few home games. Like I want them to get a star. I really wanted them to win the Bedard sweepstakes.
For sure. Oh wow, so many questions popping in. Alan, I guess we can answer the questions in chat. There's also a trade talk question that was pretty good in the trade talk, so I guess we'll go through them quick. Turnberry, I'm in a similar situation to prior D-man question. I'm looking for replacement D-man as I lost Heiskanen. Oh geez, I thought he lost Heiskanen, Harley, Tony D, and Romanov. Okay, no, he lost Heiskanen, Harley, Tony D, Romanov are all gone. I picked up Middleton at the moment. My playoffs are week 22 to 24. Turnberry, unless you give us some options, then we can kind of pick from.
Yeah, as the save options, that'll give me time to pull up.
Let us know. I was also going to go over to that trade talk one, and it just got pumped in today, an hour before we recorded. It says, is Nick Suzuki worth a 3rd round pick? I think this is a keeper league in a 10-rounder. I am inclined to say no, because that's what we're saying. He's a top 30 player. Am I understanding that right?
10 team. So I guess how many? I don't know how many keepers you get though.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's number of keepers too, right? So let's say, I guess I don't know how many keepers he has, and is there a typical one? Like the keeper league I play in, it's a keep 6.
There we go. So so even if we say let's keep 5, the 3rd rounder is worth what, an 8th rounder normally,
right?
So Nick Suzuki, especially if your playoffs run all the way out to week 25. I kind of say so.
Yeah. Okay. If it's like keep 5, I think so. If it's like a keep 1, maybe not. But yeah, I guess so. Yes.
Or wait.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah. No. Oh, I think I read that wrong. So I'm wondering if he's sending out. Yeah, I need to know which way these picks and players are going, because if you're getting Werenski for a second round pick, 100%. But if you are sending Werenski out for a second round pick, hopefully you're a seller.
Right. I read this as he gets Suzuki, and I guess he's getting Werenski. That's the way I read it. But yeah,
I would say both of those are a yes. I mean,
yeah, I would say
like I said, especially if you go to week 25, because I think Montreal, if your playoffs are week 23 to 25, they're one of the best teams in terms of just sheer quantity of games. So both of those would be yes for me in that case. Definitely Werenski. God, it's like top. Like again, Werenski is like top 2-3 defenseman. You just gotta hope he doesn't.
I think he's the guy, right? Like he is the highest defenseman, not highest defenseman, highest scoring defenseman. Yeah,
one of So yeah, there we go. All right, so let me pull up schedule again. 22 to 24. There it is. So we got Buffalo, we got Calgary, we got Dallas, LA, Minnesota, Montreal, Nashville, Ottawa. Trying to think who. I think he said Romanov is out. You know what? I would say here we go. Although he's cooled off quite a bit, I'm probably looking to drop him at this point. I would say if Tampa keeps doing the weird stuff with their power plays and Darren Radish gets hot, he's worth a look. He still manages to shoot quite a bit. Who else do we have here? Nashville. I mean, maybe Brady Shea if he sustains any sort of point pace. Oh yes, I love this one. Thoughts on Yuri Kulik? Hell yeah. I don't know if he keeps that line one deployment with Tage for the rest of the season, but yeah, I'd say right now, at least, if Buffalo has any sort of good schedule, he's worth a look.
Sure.
Who else in this list of teams here? D'Angelo. I don't know. I never looked to see if he's actually getting top power play. That was just the assumption. I mean, yeah, okay, he looks like he's getting that top power play, but it's the top power play and the Islanders, who I think is like a bottom 5 power play. Yeah, which is insane. I can't believe. I think even his first game, he got like 20 minutes, which is a little bit more than he was getting in places like Carolina, Philly. But
I mean, he's relatively lowly owned, right? 16% ownership.
You know what? That's not a bad idea to look at the Flyers. I just worry that you grab someone and they get traded.
See. Really?
Oh, shit. Oh, man, ads. Dude, fudge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's a really good trade.
Who's the value play on San Jose once he leaves?
So, anyone. So yeah, the Dobson being out the whole season. It sounds. I thought I saw a tweet while we were doing this that he is going to start skating again within the next couple weeks. So he may have avoided like the worst, but I still haven't heard any sort of prognosis on what is actually wrong with him.
I mean,
but the fact that he's skating so soon is a very good sign.
Do you remember that trade the other day where it was like Dobson for? Who was the suggestion, Alan? It was not to Dobson's ceiling, like the player that was being floated around in our chat.
Of course not. I mean, Dobson's value is at his lowest because we have no idea. We're stashing Boone Jenner. Honestly,
I probably would not.
But now that Columbus has legitimate scoring depth, I don't know if Boone comes back on that top line. They may be able to play him as a 3C shutdown guy, which is probably what he should have been doing.
Yeah.
They just didn't have any other options. But yeah, back to Turner Bree's question. We're getting sidetracked here, and it is it is about time. Yeah, I'm trying to think of guys that are worth looking at. Like I said, Darren Radish, one of the St. Louis guys. You're not going to get Darlene. And I don't think past Darlene there's really anyone worth picking up without injury. LA, Doughty's probably snatched. Middleton, yeah, that's a great stream play. Minnesota has one of the better schedules. Probably the best. Most games and most off nights. Yeah, that's good.
Sure.
Yeah, Middleton might kind of be the best play here.
Could see it. Could see it.
Yeah, unless something like Seth Jones gets traded and then they put like Vlasic on that top power play. I mean, like in a vacuum right now without any injuries or trades occurring, yeah, Middleton might be the best play. Ooh, that's a toughie. Romanov over Montour. Yeah, I mean, at least right now, while Romanov is on a hot
Didn't
streak.
Montour just get 2 goals last night?
That sounds right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Grzelcyk, I don't know. I don't know if they again. It's so hard to do a lot of this stuff without knowing if people are traded. I feel like Grzelcyk is conditional, very conditional. You got to watch to see if he's on that top unit.
I would agree with that statement.
But he is, yeah, he's a stream play while he's on that top unit. I think he's not, for me, he's not like a hold.
Agreed.
But I think we got it. Did that give you some help? Trying to breathe there. Like I'd say, yeah, watch for like Darren Radish, the St. Louis guys, Middleton. You might have right now probably the best sort of streamer option for those weeks. Or fourth D.
Yeah. I don't have any particularly crazy strong opinions beyond the Middleton one. I think he seems like he's the best option available.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and put a bow on it. We'll wrap it. Thanks guys again for coming in. We appreciate the questions, even if they weren't necessarily sit start. And we'll hear from you guys the week preview, and we'll see you next weekend.
We'll pick you up later.